Hey, what's up everyone? Nick here. Welcome back to Batman Arkham Origins, a game that I haven't played in quite a while. If you recall, I do have a walkthrough for this game on my channel where I played on I Am the Night mode, which was the hardest difficulty permadeath mode of the game. That was actually one of the first walkthroughs I ever made on this channel, but today, instead, we are tackling the DLC Cold Heart. This is the main story-related DLC to the main game. Once we get into the gameplay, I'll kind of explain a little bit about what's going on, kind of the setup and everything like that. But before we get into that, go ahead and enjoy the introductory cutscene, and I will see you after that.
People caring for people. Compassion. That's the foundation Gotham was built on. And I have proudly built GothCorp on that same foundation. That's why we're called the People Company. Thank you so much. Please.
Mr. Boyle seems to be after your title as Gotham's biggest philanthropic industrialist.
Gotham needs more people like him.
Bruce!
Hey,
I am blown away by your support.
it's well deserved. You're going to change the world, Ferris.
Hey, we'll change it together, right?
Pardon me, Mr. Boyle. The press is waiting. This way, please.
I'd say the future is looking very, very bright for Gotham. Now, it's almost midnight, and you all know what that means. Let's get this New Year's Eve party going with the... Forget to pay your heating bill, Bruce?
Happy New Year, everybody! Where do you think you're going? Don't move!
Bring me Ferris Boyle.
Alfred, where's Ferris? Alfred.
Hold it right there! Yeah, got him! Butler's gone crazy.
Are you cowards afraid of an old man?
Just take it easy. Hope that vase wasn't worth something.
Alright, so right here you're going to gain control of not Batman, but Bruce Wayne, so go ahead and counter that guy right there. And then you're going to take out these thugs, and you'll move through the Wayne mansion as Bruce instead of Batman. And there's actually an achievement you can pick up here for getting through this entire initial section as Bruce Wayne without taking any damage. I'll try to, there are a couple achievements related to the DLC. I already earned all of them, except for one before recording this playthrough.
I'm not sure. They're being led by someone in a mechanized suit. I need to find Ferris before they do.
Well, you're no use to us dressed like that. You need to put on your other suit.
So I'll try to not talk too much. Some of the pieces of dialogue aren't that important, but that one, since it had Alfred, I figured I would not talk over it. But then you'll see here's one with Vicky Vale, which I don't mind talking over because this isn't necessarily important. But yeah, so guys, this is Cold Heart, and this is what I consider the only story-related DLC that comes with Arkham Origins. Now, there is another DLC which is called Initiation, and it's very similar if you've seen the movie Batman Begins, when Batman, he's traveling, before he becomes Batman, Bruce Wayne is traveling, and he ends up meeting up with the League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul, and they train him that's basically what Initiation is. The thing is, they market it as a story-related DLC, but it's really not. It's really just a bunch of the combat maps. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not story-related at all. So I ended up not playing that, because what I'm doing right now and what I'll be doing for the next 2 weeks is I'm basically going to be bringing you every piece of story-related DLC, not only in Arkham Origins, but in the entire Arkham Gaming franchise, and I'm going to be doing it in chronological order with respect to the game that it belongs to. So that's why we're starting here with Arkham Origins, since, you know, even though Arkham Origins was the third game to come out in the franchise, it's the first game chronologically, so that's why I'm covering it first. Now, funny enough, Arkham Origins is my favorite game in the franchise, which a lot of people would disagree with, and I'm not going to really get into why that's the case, but Arkham Origins was my favorite game, and so that's another reason I was really excited to come back to this. The other cool thing is, you know, this Cold Heart DLC, it's been out for a while, and I never played it. I never played it until now. So I played it once as a practice playthrough, and now this is my second playthrough where I actually recorded it. Now, to kind of lay out the basis of this walkthrough, you know, usually I make hardest difficulty walkthroughs where I play the game on the hardest difficulty, and usually in the Arkham games, on the hardest difficulty, there are no counter indicators. So you'll notice in this playthrough, whenever an enemy is about to strike me, these blue lightning bolts will appear over their head, and that's kind of your indicator to press the counter button and block their attack. But you'll notice in this recording, there are the counter indicators. So your first question might be, whoa, what, you know, is Nick trying to pull a fast one on us? He's clearly not playing on the hardest difficulty because I can see the counter indicators. How it works for DLCs typically, especially this one here, there are no difficulties. So this DLC, there is no option to play on easy, medium, hard, whatever. It's just one base difficulty. There are no achievements for beating the game, for beating the DLC on different difficulties, because it's just one base difficulty. And so normally I wouldn't even cover this on the channel, because I do like to stick to primarily hardest difficulty things. But this was a special case because you guys really enjoyed my Arkham walkthroughs more than I anticipated. And a lot of you, when I mentioned doing the DLCs, a lot of you seemed really into that. And so that's why I decided, you know, even if it doesn't pertain to my usual content, I'd be happy to do it, because these are games that I want to play, and they're games that you guys want to see. So, you know, everybody wins. Now here, you should recognize this location. Again, what I'll do is I'll actually throw a link in the description to my original Arkham Origins walkthrough, in case you want to watch that. But let's kind of set up the story a little bit, because you hear the name Cold Heart. You saw the initial cutscene, which featured Mr. Freeze, and even though at this moment Batman doesn't know that he's Mr. Freeze, pretty much everyone watching does. Mr. Freeze is a very popular, well-known Batman villain, and perhaps a little bit infamous ever since Arnold Schwarzenegger played him in the movie, which was well, we're not going to talk about that. But Mr. Freeze is a pretty well-known villain. You know, if I were to walk down the street and ask somebody if they know who Clayface is, they probably wouldn't. If I were to ask them if they know who Mr. Freeze is, I would bet that most people know. However, a lot of you, even if you've heard the name Mr. Freeze, even if you know a little bit about him, you might not know his origin story. And, you know, as with anything comic book related, his origin story has changed throughout, throughout the comics and the cartoons and the movies. It's always a little bit different, but the core is always the same. And so, you know, normally if I was playing Arkham City, you know, and in Arkham City, Mr. Freeze was one of the bosses, and so I talked a little bit about Mr. Freeze there, because at that point it was assumed that most people knew who Mr. Freeze was and about him. But in this game here, you know, not only is this Batman's, you know, this is called Arkham Origins because this game was Batman's origin story. Well, in the same way, this Cold Cold Hard DLC is Mr. Freeze's origin story. So in this DLC, we're actually going to get an in-depth look at what made Mr. Freeze become Mr. Freeze. And so, with respect to that, I'm not going to be talking about the Mr. Freeze backstory, because I consider that a spoiler to this DLC, a spoiler to the character in regards to this DLC, and so I'll treat it like I do all of my walkthroughs, and I won't be revealing any spoilers, and that way we can kind of figure out who Mr. Freeze is together. And so hopefully you guys will appreciate that. But other than that, yeah, that's how this is going to go. There's no hardest difficulty. I'm not going to be revealing spoilers as usual. I won't talk during the cutscenes. There aren't a lot of cutscenes to begin with, but I won't talk through them nonetheless. And then finally, just some logistical things, just so you know what to expect. The Cold Cold Hard DLC takes anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 hours to play. This total, my total playthrough is going to come out to about an hour and a half, so I'm going to split it into 2 videos, each being 45 minutes long, give or take. Now, the reason I say it's anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 is because I played this just like I did the other Arkham games from start to finish. There are actually a couple side quests in this DLC. There are 2 side quests. One is to find all the Anarchy tags. Oh, maybe there's 3. One is to find all the Anarchy tags. Another is to save all of the frozen people. And then the third is to disable or to investigate all 4 Anarchy riots or something like that. So there are some side quests. And there are some achievements related to those side quests. But just like in the regular games, I'm not going to be showing you those side quests. I'm only going to be sticking to the main story, which is how I'm able to get through this in an hour and a half. So this will take 2 videos, again, each being 45 minutes long. After that, we will go to Arkham City's Harley Quinn's Revenge. So Arkham City actually had 2 DLCs, Catwoman's story and Harley Quinn's Revenge. But because I played the remastered version of the game, they actually incorporated the Catwoman DLC into the main game. So therefore, there's only 1 DLC to cover, and that is the Harley Quinn's Revenge. Very similar to this, that will take up 2 videos. It's an hour-long total, so I'm going to split it into 2 half-hour videos. And then most of the other actually, I think every other DLC from Arkham Knight is going to be just a one-and-done video because they're all pretty short. And then, unfortunately, Arkham Asylum does not have DLC. At least not any story-related DLC, because that was the first game in the franchise. That's what started everything, and they didn't know how successful it was going to be, so they didn't make any DLC for it, unfortunately. Anyway, so here we are. We've been in this room already, but now things are a bit different. Now we have Batman's uniform. We are going to have his equipment and gadgets that we got through the main game. And this is a pretty standard stealth encounter. There's a number of enemies. All of them have guns. None of them have anything else. They don't have the, they don't have the bulletproof vest. They don't have the signal jammers. They don't have the thermal vision. It's just a pretty standard stealth encounter here. So it really shouldn't pose too much of a problem. And so, as usual, like I do with most of the Arkham games, this, in a lot of ways, is going to be more like a playthrough than an actual standard walkthrough. But, I will try to show you some good tips to live by as you are making your way through this game. Now, the one thing I didn't like is that this DLC cost $10, and yeah, I didn't like that, especially just because the game has been out for so long. This DLC has been out for so long. I was kind of expecting a generous price drop. I thought it would be maybe $4 or something like that, but it was $10, and I thought that was a little steep. But it is what it is. What are you gonna do? That's why some of the other, that's one reason I really like updated versions of the game. Like with Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, I bought the remastered Return to Arkham pack, which came with all of the DLC. You know how usually like the Game of the Year edition will come with all the DLC, things like that. I think actually, I think they just came out with Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition, which probably comes with like all the DLC and everything like that. Of course, the only downside is you're essentially waiting a year to get your hands on the game.
Shh, quiet. They've got Ferris Boyle in the next room. I think they're going to kill him.
Alright, so once you gain control of Batman, you can talk to these people if you want to. They don't really have anything important to say, so instead you're just going to go in here and we're going to have to rescue Ferris Boyle. So go ahead and knock out these thugs here, and then as soon as you finish this encounter, there's going to be a very short cutscene, and then we'll carry on with the gameplay.
We need to get you out of here.
I heard about you.
I have no quarrel with you.
Then you crashed the wrong party.
Freeze? What do you want with me?
I just require a moment of your time.
Let me go! Help! Help me! What?
Alright, so you're going to have to mash the button to break out of the ice. That's something that you might want to get used to, as I'll explain in a couple minutes when we come across a new type of enemy. But then you just got to take out these three guys. Biggest thing you'll notice is that I'm always using that Batarang takedown move. That's a move that I really took advantage of in the main game. It's Batman's strongest move by far. It's the one where once you build up your combo meter, you can jump up and throw Batarangs at any enemy that's on the ground, and it will result in an instant KO. Very overpowered move. But so that guy right there, so you saw that enemy shooting. He had like I guess a freeze gun. Those are the new types of enemy in this DLC, and they are very, very annoying. And that is because it's really kind of difficult to dodge their attacks, and if their attack hits you, Batman will just get frozen. You'll have to break out of the ice, and it really messes with your combo and everything like that. So you'll notice a small cut in the video there. That's because I did mess up this fight a couple times. But so what you see is first of all I took down the guy with the freeze gun, but there's a second one over here, so I'm going to build up my combo meter and take him out as quickly as I can. Now the second one is recovering from my stun attack, so I'm going to once again build up the combo meter and then use it on the guy with the freeze gun. And that's in my opinion, that's the best way to take care of them. You just use the little guys to build up your combo, and then once you accumulate enough to do the instant takedown, you use the instant takedown on the freeze gun guys. And that's a really easy way to get them out of the picture really fast. But anyway, go ahead and finish this fight, and that's going to lead us into another cutscene, so you're going to have to walk over to this guy to interrogate him.
Where is he taking Ferris?
I don't know. I promise.
Do you have any idea how many of your friends I sent to the hospital on Christmas Eve?
Look, one of Penguin's dealers. He's stolen out the weapons Freeze gave us. He must know. We were supposed to meet up in South Gotham.
You can meet up in the emergency room instead.
South Gotham. I hope Penguin's dealer can tell you what this Mr. Freeze has done with our friend.
Targeting someone like Ferris Boyle. It's sickening.
I know you'll bring him to justice, sir.
I'll see this one wheeled into Blackgate on a gurney.
Alright guys, so now we're looking at about 20 minutes of straight gameplay, and then that will lead us into... there is one more cutscene near the end, and then that will lead us to the end of the video. One thing I forgot to mention is, so again, you should recognize everything around us. This is the same map from Arkham Origins, but what they ended up doing is they ended up they ended up blocking off certain parts of the map. So if you remember, there were originally like 4 different districts, like the Diamond District, the Industrial District, and then a couple others. For the purposes of this DLC, they blocked off some of the districts, so because you don't need to go there. So anyway, first things first, we're going to fly over here, and there's going to be a stealth encounter, and this is the easiest way I found to do it, was you fly over to this corner first, and you can take out these 2 guys immediately, and then with those 2 taken out, it really just becomes a kind of a waiting game. You just pick off the enemies one by one. You'll see right here a cool little thing you can do is you can see there's 3 enemies down there right in front of me, but one of them is going to kind of go off on his own. So if you fly over here, you can do a double takedown and then take out this 3rd guy, just bam, 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 really quickly. And then the last couple guys are pretty simple to take down. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, you might have picked up on this anyway, but if you don't recall, Batman Arkham Origins, that game took place on Christmas Eve. So that was kind of the cool thing about it was, you know, while most people were in their homes waiting for Santa Claus to come the next morning, Batman was being hunted by 8 assassins, all controlled by the Joker. And yeah, that all took place on Christmas Eve night. And so you might be wondering, when is this game taking place? And in case you didn't see it in the opening cutscene, this is actually taking place on New Year's Eve, so just a week, you know, so this is a week after the main game. And I like that. I like that a lot because they didn't have to do that. You know, they could have just made it arbitrary. They could have just said, "Oh, this is at some point, you know, it doesn't matter when." But instead they made it on New Year's Eve, and for me that really kind of emphasized like just how hectic Gotham is and just how you know, exhausted Batman must be. Like, he literally just took down 8 assassins a week ago, and yet here he is doing this. I think one of the best things was in Arkham Asylum, the ending to Arkham Asylum. So Batman just went through this hellish, you know, event. The asylum was overrun by Joker. He had to, you know, do everything he did to save the day. And then at the very end of the game, Batman is talking to Gordon, and he's like, "Okay, everything's good here. I did my job." And then you would think that after a job well done, Batman would just go home and sleep or eat. But instead, Gordon gets a call over his radio saying that Two-Face is robbing a bank, and before he can even turn to Batman, Batman's already off on his way to stop the robbery. And yeah, I always like those things. It just kind of shows you how restless the superheroes are.
Penguin's men are using cryogenic weapons to encase innocent people in ice. I'm going to need the thermal gloves and the XC suit to break them free.
I'll get to work immediately, sir. Any idea where these weapons are coming from?
I'll get that answer when I catch up with Penguin's dealer.
So we've heard that term mentioned a couple times, the XE suit. That's the suit that we saw in the Batcave, but it's not quite ready for Batman to use. If I had to guess, I would say that XE stood for Extreme Environment, because you'll see that it's essentially it's like a thermal suit. It's a suit that, you know, coincidentally just happens to be meant to fight against the cold, it would seem. So couldn't have come at a better time. Now there's going to be 2 guys with guns here, so you're going to want to sneak up on one of them, knock him out, and then you can go ahead and make your way to the other guy before he's even able to really recognize what's going on. You know what I love about these Arkham games the most is that it's kind of like riding a bike. You know, you look at to an outsider who maybe has never played these games before, you might be watching, I've never really considered this, but you might be watching me play, and I'll just, you know, zip around these combat encounters, and I'll get like combos of 60 plus really easily, and it might look like, you know, holy crap, this guy's a master of the game, but that's not really the case. The combat system in this game is one of the best ever made. It's just, it's so fluid, and it's one of those things that after you play it enough, anyone can get good at it, and it's another one of those things that it just kind of becomes like muscle memory to the point where even if you haven't played an Arkham game in a couple months or even like a couple years, you could pick it up, and you know, it might take a couple tries to get in the hang of it, but eventually you just it just all clicks back in, and immediately you're able to go back to getting these huge combos. And yeah, I think that's one of the things that made these games so successful is, you know, superhero games have always been notably pretty bad, and Batman Arkham Asylum is really the first superhero game to be done right. And I think a lot of it is owed to the combat system. Now anyway, you see right there, that's the attack I was talking about. So the guy with the freeze gun, he tried to shoot at me. And so what you have to do when that happens is you just have to keep dodging. You have to evade over a bunch of enemies and just hopefully dodge the attack. The good thing is, by doing so, the freeze gun can actually hit the enemies as well. So you saw that guy was frozen in place thanks to his buddy with an itchy trigger finger.
Please don't.
So that's fortunate.
I got a family.
Alright, so now go over here and let's do some more interrogating.
Where's Freeze?
You think I know?
You plan on celebrating the new year in traction?
Okay. He made a deal with Penguin. Weapons in exchange for some stiff. Ferris Boyle. He's in GothCorp last I saw.
You're lying. GothCorp doesn't make weapons.
What? No, GothCorp, I swear! Look, I've got the entry codes.
I'll take those.
Alright, so apparently they took Boyle to GothCorp.
GothCorp involved in weapons tech. There's got to be more to this.
So GothCorp is Boyle's company, and Batman's a little confused. He's thinking, you know, what's going on here. And so for those of you who are still watching, I'll give you a little treat, a little preview. This is not definite. It's you know, nothing's set in stone. But I've been working on this idea for a new project involving the original Resident Evil game, the first game, Resident Evil, obviously the HD remake. But I've been thinking about doing something a bit different for this game, and I think it could be a lot of fun. It's something that if I do decide to go through with it, I'll make an announcement video so that everyone knows. But I'll just leave it at that. I got some stuff, I got some ideas brewing for Resident Evil that I am very excited about. Anyway, here we are at the entrance of GothCorp. There's going to be a number of enemies standing outside, one of them with a freeze gun. And so you'll notice right there, that that guy just got a hit in on me. Now, a lot of the times I might have restarted the checkpoint because I didn't want to take any damage. But the main priority is to knock down the guy with the freeze gun. Triple stun him, get him down, and then finish off the little guys while he's down. And so right there, sure, the little guy was able to hit me, but I really didn't care because my objective there was just to get the freeze gun guy down. Those freeze gun guys are really annoying, trust me. And so the quicker you can get them down, the better. Everything else is secondary. So even if, you know, when I say get them down, that doesn't necessarily mean knocking them out. It just means get them stunned, get them, you know, just get them out of the picture for as much time as you can. Because then it just makes your life so much easier. So you'll come to the lobby here. Go ahead and zip up to this location. You can do a double takedown on these two goons. And then there's going to be one more guy left up here. And while he runs to get a gun, I don't know what he's doing. He just ran past. He turned around. He was running towards the gun container. He turned around and ran all the way to that gun.
Those men were armed. How'd you do that?
Where are they taking Ferris?
Mr. Boyle? They're heading to the propellant research wing. These guys have been raiding the whole facility.
Do you have the codes to this security door?
No, I don't have clearance. But my boss does. A bunch of them took him to the organics lab, through the lobby.
I'll make sure they don't hurt your boss. Get yourself to safety.
Alright, so you heard what we gotta do, so let's go do it. That's another thing I forgot to mention, one of the more disappointing things. It's really not that big of a deal, but I did notice a number of bugs in this DLC. There was just a couple things that it felt like maybe they rushed it, or they just didn't care enough to go back and fix the bugs. Now some of the bugs are pretty small, like like the one that just happened where the guy, he abandoned the gun case that he was standing right next to and instead decided to run all the way across the map to get a gun. Those types of bugs, you know, those are more funny than anything. They don't really affect the game at all. So you see right there, he was able to hit me with the freeze gun, and when that happens, they'll throw grenades at you. So it's really annoying. You want to get those guys out of the picture as quickly as possible. But you'll see later on, I can't remember if it's in this video. I think it's in the next video. There's actually a bug that that's quite a big deal. It makes things kind of difficult, and it's one of those things that I don't know how it slipped through the cracks and how it didn't get fixed, but that seems to be the case. But anyway, you'll come to this room here, and we're gonna have kind of a large stealth encounter on our hands. This one's a bit more difficult. There's going to be a couple enemies with sniper rifles, and I'm also going to show you a special move here. So keep in mind, I was telling you how that this DLC, there are a number of achievements that come with this DLC, and all but one of them I actually was able to get on my initial playthrough, but there is one that I didn't get, and it's missable, and so I decided to get it during this playthrough. So I'll show you how to do it. Obviously, this isn't an achievement guide or anything, but nonetheless, I'll just show you how to get it for your own benefit. But basically, what you have to do is you have to do 3 ice wall takedowns, and the problem is you have to do them in the main story, in the main DLC story, because once you complete the story, you are able to free roam around the map, but you're not able to do the move, and so that causes some problems. But anyway, in this room here, there are 2 ice walls, and so you have to do 3 ice wall takedowns. In this room here, there are 2, which means the last one you'll have to do at the end of the DLC during the main boss fight. But anyway, so I'm gonna take out a couple of these little guys. Remember, still there are snipers over there, so I'm trying to be careful to avoid them. I'm pretty sure it's this. Oh, you know what? It might not be this fight that the ice wall, or that the ice walls are in. I think I'm mistaken, because that's not going to happen until later when the room actually gets frozen. So I think I'm mistaken. It's not at this point. That'll come later on. So apologies there. I think that will be in the second video. So anyway, now let's take out the snipers. We got one guy, but you will notice that the second sniper has bulletproof armor on, and that means that you can't do the normal silent takedown on those guys. You got to do something a bit stronger. So one thing you could do if you want is you could jam his weapon so that he can't shoot it. You could also throw a smoke grenade at him and take him out with regular combat. But you could see that there's a tank right next to him, and so I'm actually going to do that cool little move where you can shoot the tank at him, and now you'll notice that he's frozen in place. The other enemies didn't even hear it, so now I'm just going to drop down and do what's called an ice smash takedown. It's an instant KO, and pretty simple. So now there's a couple guys left, but the snipers are out of the picture. That's kind of my main concern, and so from here, it's just a matter of picking off the stragglers. Now remember, at this point, noise is not a bad thing. You can use noise to lure enemies over. So like that enemy right there, you know, I could have done a silent takedown on him, but instead I did a noisy takedown. That way I lured a couple enemies over, and it kind of gets them, you know, it gets them to disperse and everything like that. Makes your life a little easier. And again, notice this is the 3rd time I've done that tank move. There are a lot of, I guess they're probably like liquid nitrogen tanks or something like that, but there are a lot of them throughout this map, so you can use those to instantly freeze your enemies in place and then just run up to them for an instant ice smash takedown. Eventually they will thaw out, so you see this guy here, he just now thawed out, so I'm going to take him out the good old-fashioned way and then get out of here before those 2 guys catch up. That was kind of close. Alright, so I think there's only 2 guys left, maybe 3, I can't remember. But either way, at this point, it's pretty much, it's pretty simple. Oh, the other thing is, you may have noticed a couple of these people frozen in place, and one of the achievements is to rescue all of them. I think there's 20 in total. You cannot start making progress towards that achievement until you get the XE suit. And that will be at the start of the next video, and that's because the XE suit has the ability to thaw those people out safely, and so you can't actually start earning that achievement until you get the XE suit. One thing you can do, though, I think if you stand close enough to one of them, they'll be marked on your map. That way, later on when you are going for the achievement, you won't have to be like, oh, I know I saw someone, but I forget where he is.
I do. Here, take them. You're going to save Mr. Boyle, right?
It's not safe inside GothCorp. You need to get out of here.
Don't worry. I won't be hanging around. And, thanks, you know? Not just for me. For Gotham.
You're welcome. Alright, so we have our next objective. We're getting close to the end of the video. There's about 10 minutes left. There is going to be like a 2 or 3 minute cutscene coming up in about 4 minutes. And that's a pretty good one. But not yet. We still have to kind of sneak our way through GothCorp.
Work on the XE suit coming.
Slowly, sir.
I'm encountering ice formations impeding my progress.
The thermal gloves would certainly help you with that. I'm working as quickly as I can.
Keep me posted.
Thank goodness for Alfred. What would we do without Alfred? If you remember, he actually almost died in Arkham Origins. I don't know if you remember that, but Bane figured out that Batman is Bruce Wayne, and he invaded the Batcave and basically beat Alfred within an inch of death. And Batman was able to revive him using his electrified gloves, which he got from the Electrocutioner, which was one of the assassins going after Batman. Alright, so this fight here is actually a little difficult. These 2 ice gun guys are going to storm in, and you don't have enough time to start, you don't really have enough time to take them out right away. So instead what you're going to do is use the little guys to evade their attack, and you'll see I'm going to use the little guys to build up my meter. Then I'm going to use the instant takedown on one of the ice guys, one of the ice gun guys, and then we'll just repeat the process. Try to build up the meter with the little guys, use the instant takedown on the big guys. Now you can see here, once again, dodge, and then take him out as quickly as possible. And again, once the ice guys are taken care of, the rest is just the rest is child's play. It's all pretty simple from here. Oh, and then right as I say that, I get hit. That's awesome. Good job, Nick. That's probably my favorite move right there, where the Batclaw takedown. I just really like the way it looks and how easy it is to use. Alright, so we got what we need. We'll use the correct code, philanthropy, on this door right here. We shall go inside. There's a couple guys blocking our way. You can take all of them out with a silent takedown. I don't really know what the point of this hallway is, because like you see these 3 enemies and you think, oh, I'm gonna have to engage in a fight, but really you can take all 3 of them out with a silent takedown. So it just kind of it feels pointless. Like what am I doing? Good night.
I don't have access to this door. I need to find another way into the propellant facility.
Alright, so instead go to this room right here. It's a little locker room, and you'll see a ladder going down. Now I'm not sure about this, but very quickly, if you saw on top of the vent that I just went down, there was a pair of red gloves, and I think there was a mask, and I think that's supposed to be an Easter egg for a villain named the Ratcatcher, if I remember correctly, because I remember in Arkham Asylum that was one of the riddles. There's a villain called the Ratcatcher, and the riddle for the Ratcatcher was a pair of gloves and a mask inside of a vent. it just, I don't know, it felt really out of place, but it felt like the gloves were bright red, so it felt like it was intentional for the gamer to see that, but it just feels really out of place. Like, why throw that Easter egg into a DLC? I don't know. I might have to look into that, but it was something I noticed while I was playing, and I kind of thought about it for a little bit, like, is that really what I think it is, or am I just looking for Easter eggs where they don't exist? Anyway, guys, go ahead and follow this path here, and now you'll be treated to a pretty good 2-minute cutscene as soon as you go through this door.
Give me Boyle, or I'll freeze this entire room.
Oh, I know you won't. Boyle's got the code you need. And I ain't giving him up, unless I get what he's giving you.
What's behind this door is of no interest to you.
What I'm interested in is the weapons I was promised. I know you're holding out on me.
This will not end well for you, Cobblepot.
Oh, I think you're confused about what exactly. Now, you again.
Now you belong to me.
I'll give you one chance to let him go.
Threats are meaningless to a man who has lost everything.
You, this is your fault. You get me out of this.
What's Freeze after? Why does he need Boyle?
Boyle's got codes he needs to access some kind of super weapon. And now you let him have it.
That ice is the only thing saving you from getting the beating you deserve.
Yeah. Look, you ought to save our friend Mr. Boyle, yeah? But you'll never break through this ice. GothCorp has a device. It's like a drill. A cryo drill.
Tell me where it is.
I had my men bring all our acquisitions to the My Alibi nightclub. For safekeeping, of course.
Then you better hope your men are still at My Alibi.
And with that, guys, we will be pretty close to the end of the first part of the Cold Heart DLC. So you now see that Penguin was involved in all this, which you probably guessed because we were fighting Penguin's men. But yeah, now you can see that this GothCorp building, it's kind of fallen apart. The one thing I really like is if you look at Batman's outfit, you can see that there's like frost on it, kind of showing you how cold it is in here. But anyway, now we're just going to kind of retrace our steps and make our way back through GothCorp. You'll see another ice gun guy right here, so you can link him to the tank. That will freeze him up, and then you can take out these 3 little guys, no problem. Oh, it looks like both of them got frozen in that blast. That's lovely. And anyway, now I'll take down the ice gun guy and take down his buddy. Voila. Now just continue making your way out of GothCorp. You'll have to charge this station right here. And then you'll be able to zip up through the fan. And I think this will take us back to the original room where we did that big stealth encounter, if I remember correctly, because there's like one last security guard that we have to save on our way out. So you'll go through this door here, and you'll see there's a couple guys in here. Take them out, and then as soon as you rescue the security guard, that will trigger the end of the video, because Batman will bring him outside to safety, and that's where we'll pick up next time. So at the start of the next video, we'll be outside of GothCorp. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think of the Cold Heart DLC so far. Hopefully you're excited for me covering it. I know I'm excited to be covering it. And yeah, that'll bring about the end of part 1. Again, thanks guys. I'll see you in the next video.
That was incredible.
Come with me. I'm getting you out of here.